It was a peaceful day, and Jason never expected that his life would change forever. He had traveled far across the galaxy, seeking new worlds and experiences. But nothing, not even his wildest dreams, could have prepared him for what was waiting. In the distant planet of Alara 5, Jason had always been an adventurer, traveling from one planet to another, gathering stories to tell back home. But Alara 5 was different. The planet was a mystery, unexplored and surrounded by rumors. Some said it was cursed, others that it was the home of beings so advanced that humans could not even comprehend their existence. He landed his ship on the surface, looking out over the strange landscape. The sky was a pale pink, and the terrain was a mix of vast deserts and lush forests. Strange plants grew, and there was an eerie quiet that hung in the air. Jason didn't know what to expect, but he was ready for whatever lay ahead. As he stepped out of his ship, he felt a strange sensation. It wasn't fear, but something he couldn't quite place, a sense of being watched. He looked around, but saw no one. The silence was thick, like the planet was holding its breath. He shrugged it off and continued forward, his boots crunching on the sandy ground. He ventured deeper into the planet's terrain, taking in the sights and sounds of Alara 5. That was when he saw her. From the distance, she looked like a shimmering figure, her body glowing softly under the pink sky. At first, Jason thought it was just a trick of the light. But as she came closer, he could see she was real, and unlike anything he had ever seen before. She was tall, almost a head taller than him, with smooth blue skin that glowed faintly in the sunlight. Her hair was long and silver, cascading around, her shoulders like liquid metal. Her eyes were a brilliant, glowing shade of purple, and they locked onto Jason's immediately. There was something both beautiful and intimidating about her, and Jason felt a mixture of awe and unease. She wore a strange, tight-fitting bodysuit, made of some kind of dark metallic fabric that seemed to shift with every movement. It clung to her form, showing the perfect curves of her body. Jason tried to steady his breath, wondering if he was seeing a dream, or worse, hallucinating. But no, she was real, very real. The alien woman took a few more steps toward him, her presence undeniable. Jason's heart raced as he felt a chill run down his spine. She stopped just a few feet away, tilting her head slightly as if studying him. Her movements were smooth, almost graceful, like a predator observing its prey. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Jason was at a loss for words. He wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? Where did she come from? What did she want? Then the alien girl spoke. Her voice was soft and melodic, but there was an edge to it that sent another wave of unease through him. Human, she said, the word feeling strange coming from her lips. You are different. I've never seen one like you before. Jason blinked in confusion. Different? He was just an ordinary human male. At least that's what he thought. I'm just a human, he stammered, trying to keep his composure. Who are you? The alien girl's lips curled into a slight smile, but it wasn't a smile of kindness. It was a smile of curiosity, of something far more complex. I am Arya, she said, her voice still soft but with a strange power behind it. I am from a far-off world, but you are different from the others I've seen. I can feel it. Jason's mind raced. He had heard of alien races before, but nothing had prepared him for this. He had read about species that could manipulate energy, others that could transform their bodies. But this was different. Arya wasn't just another alien. She was something else entirely. What do you mean? Jason asked, taking a small step back. Arya took another step closer. You are strange. Your body is different from mine. So fragile, she said, looking at him with what appeared to be a mixture of wonder and concern. Jason swallowed hard. He was getting more and more nervous. He had never been this close to an alien before. The air between them felt charged, and he had no idea how to respond. Arya's glowing purple eyes studied him with an intensity that made him feel exposed. He felt like she could see into his very soul, like she knew everything about him without him saying a word. He wanted to look away, but something about her gaze kept him locked in place. "Human males," she said, her tone still soft but now laced with genuine curiosity. "Do you feel things the way I do?" Jason blinked. "What do you mean?" he asked, now completely confused. Arya seemed to ponder the question for a moment, her fingers twitching as if she was trying to figure out how to explain herself. "Your body, how do you say, it's different. Your strength, your reactions, they aren't like mine. There's something more intimate about your biology." Jason was taken aback by her words. He had no idea what she was talking about. Alien biology was something he hadn't studied much, but this conversation was starting to take a strange turn. Before he could respond, Arya reached out toward him. Jason instinctively took a step back, but she didn't seem offended. She simply watched him, her gaze softening. "Do you mind?" she asked, her voice now almost like a whisper. "I only want to understand." Jason felt his heart pounding in his chest. He wasn't sure what was happening, but something told him that this encounter would be like nothing he had ever experienced before. As Arya stepped closer, he could only wonder what would happen next. The tension between them was thick, and Jason had no idea what was coming, or what kind of impact this strange encounter would have on his life. But one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. Jason stood frozen, unsure whether to speak or simply step back and leave. But Arya, the alien girl with her glowing purple eyes and strange beauty, didn't seem to notice his discomfort. Her presence was magnetic, almost as if she could pull every thought and feeling out of his mind without him realizing. She stood before him, silently observing, her eyes filled with curiosity that was both unnerving and fascinating. The air between them felt thick with tension. Jason's heart beat faster, and his palms began to sweat. She seemed to be examining him, every inch of his body like a scientist studying an unusual specimen. But what caught him most off guard was how personal it felt. He had read about alien species before. He'd encountered a few in passing. But this was different. It felt like he was the subject of her entire world, and somehow that was both thrilling and terrifying. After what seemed like an eternity, Arya finally spoke again. But this time it wasn't just an observation. It was a question. "You mean," she said slowly, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made his breath catch, "human males have milk too?" Jason blinked. His mind took a moment to process what she had just said. Milk. What was she talking about? He looked at her confused, trying to make sense of her words. Was this some kind of joke? What? He stammered, his mind racing. Arya didn't seem to be joking. She tilted her head slightly, her silver hair shimmering in the sunlight, and repeated, "Human males. You have milk too, don't you?" Jason's confusion deepened. "Milk?" he asked again, as if saying the word could somehow explain the situation. "What do you mean by milk? I think you might have misunderstood something." She stepped closer to him, her long fingers reaching out and gently touching his arm, sending a shiver down his spine. "You see," Arya continued, her voice soft but insistent, "I've seen many creatures in my travels, but none like you. The females of my species produce nourishment. But you, human males, you are different. There's something about you, something biological that I cannot understand." Jason's mind was in overdrive. This was not the kind of conversation he had expected. In fact, it was nothing like any of the encounters he'd had with other species. Normally, when humans met aliens, it was a diplomatic mission, an exchange of knowledge, or a simple trade. But this was personal. His eyes darted around for an escape, but there was none. He was trapped in this moment with no idea how to explain what was going on. "Look," he said, trying to regain control of the conversation, "I think you're confused. Human males don't produce milk like females do. That's not..." That's not how our bodies work. Arya's gaze never wavered. Then what is this? She asked, her voice low, almost hypnotic. She placed a hand on his chest, feeling the rise and fall of his breathing. There's something inside you. Something that makes you different from any other male I've encountered. Jason's breath hitched in his throat. He couldn't tell if she was trying to tease him, to provoke him, or if she genuinely didn't understand. And what made it even worse was that there was something about her touch that felt so strange, so unfamiliar, yet oddly comforting. It was as if her hands were exploring the very essence of him, peeling back layers of his being that even he hadn't fully understood. He opened his mouth to respond, but the words caught in his throat. This wasn't a conversation he had ever been prepared for. And the way she was looking at him now with such intense focus made him feel exposed in a way he couldn't explain. Please, she continued, her voice almost pleading now. Explain it to me. Why are you different from the others? Jason's mind raced. He was a scientist, an explorer, and a part of him recognized the importance of this moment. This was an alien species, a being so far beyond anything he had known, asking him questions about something as personal as human biology. And the way she was asking, it wasn't just curiosity, it was something more. He looked down at her, feeling both the weight of her gaze and the heat of her touch. He had to answer, even though every part of him was screaming to get away. I'm not sure how to explain it, he said slowly, unsure of where this conversation was heading. Human biology isn't like yours, Arya. Men and women have different functions, but milk, that's something only women produce. She didn't seem satisfied with his answer. Her frown deepened, and she stepped even closer, almost within arm's reach. But you have something inside you, she repeated. I can feel it. Jason swallowed, his throat dry. I don't know what you mean, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Arya's eyes narrowed, her alien intelligence calculating, almost as if she were piecing together a puzzle. If you don't have milk, then why do I sense this strange energy in you? Something that doesn't belong, something different from what I've known. Jason didn't know how to answer her. He wanted to explain, wanted to make her understand, but how could he? He had no idea what she was sensing. He was just a human. Was she sensing something in him? Something that he hadn't even realized? Suddenly, the alien girl's expression changed. Her eyes softened, and her touch on his arm became gentler. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. It's just, I've never met anyone like you before. Jason was still reeling from the strange turn of events. This wasn't how his day was supposed to go. But the more he looked at Arya, the more he realized that this encounter wasn't just a random meeting. It was something bigger, something that could change everything he knew about the universe. As the tension between them lingered, Jason felt both an overwhelming curiosity and an undeniable fear. What was she really asking? What was she searching for? And more importantly, what did it mean for the future of humanity? The questions were piling up, and Jason had no answers. But one thing was for sure. This was just the beginning. Jason's heart raced, the questions piling up in his mind, faster than he could process. He stood there feeling as though he were caught in a surreal dream. Arya, the alien girl with shimmering blue skin and eyes that seemed to see through him, was still watching him intently, her gaze never wavering. Her earlier words echoed in his head. You have something inside you. Something different. Something I can't understand. Her voice was soft but insistent, and Jason felt both overwhelmed and confused by her relentless curiosity. He had expected a peaceful exploration. He had come to Alara 5 seeking knowledge, but what he was getting was far beyond anything he had imagined. The more Arya asked questions, the more it became clear that she wasn't just curious about human biology. She was searching for something. Something that Jason wasn't sure he was ready to face. Why are you so interested in human males? Jason asked, trying to keep his voice steady, though a nervous tremor was evident. What's so special about us? Arya's gaze softened, and for the first time Jason saw a glimpse of something beyond pure curiosity, something that might have been pity or empathy. "I'm not sure," she said quietly, her voice taking on a more introspective tone. "There's an energy in you, a power I don't fully understand. And I've encountered many species, Jason, but none like you." Jason blinked, surprised that she knew his name. But before he could ask how she knew, she continued. "My kind," she said, her eyes darkening with a hint of sorrow. "We don't experience things like you do. Our lives are guided by logic and reason, not emotions. But when I look at you, I see something different. I see life. The kind of life that is messy, unpredictable, but also beautiful." Jason tried to make sense of her words. She seemed so alien, so distant, yet there was something human about her, something that made him feel like they weren't so different after all. But her words left him uneasy. There was something in her voice, something in the way she spoke, that made him wonder if there was more to this encounter than he realized. "Look," Jason said, trying to break the tension, "I'm just a guy. I don't know what you're sensing, but I'm not special. I'm just like any other human male. Nothing more." But Arya wasn't convinced. Her eyes glowed brighter as she stepped closer to him, her presence almost overwhelming. "You say that, but I don't believe you," she whispered. "You're not like them. You're not like any male I've encountered before." Jason took a step back, his instincts telling him to retreat, but Arya was faster. She reached out and grabbed his wrist, pulling him back toward her. The warmth of her hand sent a jolt through his body, and for a moment he forgot how to breathe. Her touch was soft, almost delicate, yet there was a strange intensity behind it, as though she were trying to unlock something hidden inside him. "Please," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let me understand. I need to know what makes you different. I can't explain it, but I feel connected to you. It's like our destinies are intertwined in some way." Jason didn't know how to respond. He had no idea what she was talking about. He had never felt anything like this before, this connection that seemed to exist between them. He pulled his hand away gently, trying to regain some control over the situation. "Arya," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "You need to understand. Humans don't have powers like that. We're just people. We don't have anything special inside us, nothing like you're describing." But Arya wasn't listening anymore. Her eyes were closed, and she seemed to be lost in thought, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on the air as if trying to tap into something she couldn't quite reach. Jason watched her, feeling a growing sense of unease. He had always believed that humans were just another species in the vast universe, no different from any of the others. But now, with Arya standing before him, looking like she was trying to read his very soul, he wasn't so sure anymore. "I know you don't believe me," Arya said softly, opening her eyes again to lock onto his. "But I can feel it. There's something inside you, a power, a force, something that belongs to you alone. And I have to know what it is." Jason could feel the weight of her words pressing down on him, suffocating him with the enormity of her request. He had never felt more exposed in his life. He had always prided himself on his understanding of the universe. But now, standing face to face with an alien whose understanding of life seemed so alien to him, he felt small, helpless. "You don't understand," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't have anything special. I'm not the person you think I am." But Arya was relentless. She stepped even closer, her body almost touching his now. Jason could feel her warmth, her presence pressing against him. And for the first time he wondered if maybe she was right. Maybe there was something inside him, something that even he didn't understand. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, but now, standing in front of her, he wasn't so sure. "Please," she whispered again, "trust me. Let me help you understand. You may not know what's inside you, but I can help you discover it." Jason stared at her for a moment, her pleading expression softening the unease he felt. There was something genuine in her eyes, something that made him want to believe her, but he still didn't know how to react. How could he trust her? How could he trust anything in this strange world? Before he could answer, Arya reached up and touched his cheek, her fingers cool against his skin. "I only want to help you, Jason," she said. "I want to understand. And I want you to understand too." The words hung in the air between them, thick with tension. Jason felt his heart pound in his chest as he realized that this moment, this encounter, wasn't just about learning about another species. It was about discovering something hidden deep within himself, something he had never known existed, something that was about to change everything. But as the silence stretched on, he still couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the edge of something dangerous. The air was thick, charged with the tension of 100 unspoken words. Jason stood there, his mind spinning. He had no idea how to navigate the strange pull he felt toward Arya. Her presence was like a magnet, drawing him closer even though everything about her was foreign. His body told him to step away, to escape from the growing sense of unease. But his heart was betraying him. It felt like it was tethered to her, unable to pull away. Arya watched him silently, her purple eyes never leaving his. There was something almost hypnotic about her gaze, something that made him feel as though she could see right through him. It wasn't just her physical beauty that mesmerized him. It was the way she seemed to be able to read his very soul. Her fingers had barely touched his skin, but the connection was undeniable. It was as if she knew more about him than he did himself. "You still don't understand," Arya said, her voice soft but intense. "I don't think you realize just how special you are. It's not just your biology, Jason, it's your essence. You humans, there's something about you, something that even we can't comprehend. But I can feel it, it's in you." Jason shook his head, his hands clenching at his sides. His mind was screaming at him to walk away, but his feet felt rooted to the ground. How could she say things like that? How could she make him feel like he was different, like he was the center of something much bigger than himself? He wasn't special. He was just a human, an ordinary man lost on a distant planet. "Look," Jason said, trying to steady his voice. "I'm not special, Arya. I'm just a guy. I don't know what you're sensing, but I don't have anything inside me that's unique." Arya stepped closer, closing the space between them with unsettling calm. "I don't believe you," she said, her voice barely a whisper now, but her words carried weight. "I've seen many species, Jason. I've traveled to worlds you can't even imagine. But when I look at you, I feel something different. It's in your energy. It's in the way your heart beats, the way you breathe. You're alive in a way we can't understand, and that's why I need to know." Jason's throat went dry. What did she mean by alive in a way we can't understand? Her words were beginning to break through the wall of disbelief he had carefully built around himself. There was something here, something real, but he had no idea what it was. I don't know what to tell you," he said, taking a step back, feeling the cold wind from the alien planet sweep over him. "I'm just trying to survive, just like everyone else. I don't have anything special." Arya didn't seem offended. If anything, her eyes grew softer, more patient, but her presence only seemed to intensify. The closer she got, the more Jason felt like he was suffocating under the weight of her attention. It wasn't just physical. It was emotional, mental, spiritual. It was as if she could see right into the deepest corners of his mind. "Let me show you," she said, reaching out a hand toward him. Before he could pull away, she placed her palm against his chest, right over his heart. Jason stiffened, his pulse quickening at the unexpected contact. But then something strange happened. As soon as her skin made contact with his, Jason felt a rush of warmth spread through his body, like a current of energy flowing between them. The world around him seemed to blur. The desert landscape, the sky above, everything faded into the background. All he could feel was her touch and the strange power that surged through him. It wasn't painful. but it wasn't comforting either. It was like a spark had been ignited inside him, and now he couldn't contain it. He gasped, his chest tightening as the feeling of energy coursed through him. Aria's eyes widened, and for the first time, Jason saw something like awe on her face. "I knew it," she whispered, her voice trembling. "There is something in you. Something more than you can even comprehend." Jason stumbled back, pulling away from her touch. The warmth that had flooded him was gone in an instant, leaving behind a feeling of emptiness that he couldn't explain. His breath was coming in short gasps, and his heart was still pounding as if it had just been through some kind of ordeal. "What the hell was that?" he asked, his voice shaking. Aria stood still, watching him intently, her expression unreadable. "That," she said, her voice tinged with awe, "was the energy I've been sensing. It's in you, Jason. It's something we don't understand, something even my people can't explain." Jason's mind was reeling. He had never experienced anything like that before. That surge of energy, it felt like it had come from deep within him, something buried and forgotten. It was as if he had tapped into a power he didn't know he had, but how? Why? "What does this mean?" Jason asked, his voice low, filled with disbelief. "What do you want from me?" Aria took a step closer again, her eyes now glowing softly in the dimming light. "I don't want anything from you, Jason," she said softly. "I just want you to understand. You are special, even if you don't believe it. The energy inside you, it's not something that just happens. It's a part of you, it always has been." Jason felt a wave of panic rise within him. What if she was right? What if there was something inside him, something that had always been there, but he had never noticed? What if he was more than he had ever realized? The thought made his stomach churn. The more Aria spoke, the more his world seemed to tilt on its axis. "Why me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why am I the one you're looking at? What makes me different from anyone else?" Aria paused, her gaze softening. "Because you're human," she said quietly. "And that's what makes you extraordinary." The words hung in the air, their meaning just out of reach. Jason didn't understand them, not yet. But he knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just about him and Aria anymore. It was about something bigger, something that could change everything. As the silence stretched between them, Jason couldn't help but wonder what would happen if he allowed himself to understand what was inside him. What was this power, and what consequences would come from unlocking it? The tension was building, and Jason felt like he was standing on the edge of a precipice, not knowing what awaited him on the other side. Jason could feel his heart pounding. In his chest, a nervous, erratic beat that echoed in his ears. Every word Aria had spoken, every touch, every lingering glance had unsettled him in ways he didn't fully understand. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones. But what was worse was the nagging suspicion creeping into his mind. What if this wasn't just curiosity? What if there was something deeper behind Aria's relentless probing? Something far more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. She had been insistent, unyielding in her search for answers about him. But now, as he stood in the dimming light of a Lara 5's alien landscape, Jason realized that maybe, just maybe, her fascination wasn't as innocent as he had hoped. Aria, standing a mere few feet away, looked at him with those penetrating purple eyes. The longer they stood in silence, the more he felt like an insect pinned under a microscope, as though every single movement, every tiny reaction of his was being analyzed, catalogued. And he wasn't sure if he could trust her anymore. "Jason," she said, her voice softer than before, but there was an edge to it now. "You still don't understand, do you? You're not just human. You're a key to something much greater, something we have been searching for." Jason frowned, trying to make sense of her words. The adrenaline that had flooded his system earlier was slowly being replaced by confusion and dread. He wasn't just a man. He was a key. To what? "What do you mean, a key?" Jason asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His throat felt dry, his every instinct telling him to run, to get as far away from her as possible. Arya stepped forward, her movements slow and deliberate. The air around them felt charged, electric, like an invisible force was pressing them closer together. I can feel it, Jason. The power within you. It's unlike anything I've ever encountered in my life. It's ancient. Jason's mind raced. He wanted to step back, to distance himself from her, but he couldn't. His body felt heavy, weighed down by a mix of fear and fascination. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice trembling, his eyes scanning the distant horizon for an escape he knew he wouldn't find. Arya's lips curved into a faint, almost sad smile, but there was no kindness in it. "I don't want anything from you, Jason," she replied, her voice cold like the sudden drop in temperature that accompanied the setting sun. "I need you. Your unique energy. It's part of a plan much bigger than you or me." Jason took a step back, his pulse quickening. "What kind of plan?" he asked, his voice rising. "Why me? Why are you doing this?" Arya's eyes flickered for a moment, as though she were debating how much to reveal. For a moment, Jason saw something like regret in her expression, but it was gone just as quickly. "You're not the first human to exhibit this energy. The truth is, Jason, humans have something inside them, something that we've been searching for centuries, and you just happened to be the one who unlocked it." Jason's mind spun. "What do you mean, unlocked it? I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just a guy trying to survive, trying to make sense of all this alien stuff. And now you're telling me I have some kind of special energy?" Arya stepped even closer, her presence overwhelming. "Yes," she whispered, her voice low, almost reverent. "You've unlocked it. The power hidden deep within your kind. That energy. It's ancient, Jason. It's tied to the very essence of your species." Jason felt like he was drowning. Every word that left her lips only added to the mounting chaos inside his mind. Energy? Essence? Ancient power? None of it made sense. He was just a regular human, a man who had no idea that his own biology was, somehow, connected to something cosmic, something far beyond his understanding. But as Arya stood before him, her eyes searching his face, Jason knew one thing for certain. This wasn't some passing curiosity. She was after something inside him. "What does this mean for me?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Arya paused for a moment, her expression unreadable, as if weighing her words carefully. Then, her voice broke the silence like a knife through still water. "It means you're part of a much bigger story," she said, her voice tinged with a mixture of awe and determination. "It means that everything you thought you knew about yourself is a lie. You're not just a human. You're the key to understanding the true power that lies hidden in your species. And I need you, Jason, to help me uncover it." Jason's mind was reeling. He wanted to run, to escape, but something inside him, a strange, unsettling feeling, kept him rooted to the spot. He had no idea what she was talking about, but her words felt like they carried a weight that couldn't be ignored. "Help you? How?" Jason's voice cracked, his chest tightening. "How can I possibly help you with something I don't even understand?" Arya's expression softened for a brief moment, but her eyes still held that intense, burning intensity. "You don't need to understand it yet, Jason. You just need to trust me. We are connected in a way that you cannot yet see. Your energy. It's the key to unlocking the truth, and together we can discover it." Jason's heart thudded painfully in his chest. He didn't know what was worse, the fear that was slowly consuming him, or the strange pull he felt toward her. Trust her? How could he trust her when everything she said made him feel like a pawn in some alien game? I don't know if I can trust you," Jason said, his voice barely above a whisper, as though speaking the words made them real. "How? Do I know you're not using me for something else?" Arya stepped back slightly, her gaze flickering with something like sadness. "I'm not using you, Jason," she said softly, her tone gentle, almost apologetic. I'm trying to help you see the truth. You may not understand now, but you will. In time, you'll see that we are all part of a much bigger plan. Jason shook his head, feeling the weight of her words press down on him. He didn't know what to believe anymore. Was Arya telling the truth? Or was this some elaborate scheme to use him for something he couldn't even begin to comprehend? And as he looked into her eyes, Jason realized something. This wasn't just a meeting between two species. This was the beginning of something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The tension between them was only growing, and the truth, whatever it was closer than ever. But Jason had no idea just how deep the rabbit hole went, or how much his life, and the fate of humanity, was about to change forever. Jason stood there, his mind swirling in a chaotic storm of questions, fears, and growing anxiety. Arya's words echoed in his head like an insistent drumbeat, each one adding more weight to the pressure he felt closing in around him. The alien girl, no, the alien being, had just dropped a bombshell that shook the very foundation of everything he thought he knew about himself, humanity, and the universe at large. He wasn't just an ordinary human. He wasn't just another traveler who had stumbled onto a strange world. No, he was somehow tied to a power so ancient, so profound, that even Arya, with all her knowledge and experience, didn't fully understand it. He could feel the tension building inside him, a mix of fear, uncertainty, and something else he couldn't quite name, a strange sense of responsibility. The weight of her gaze, the intensity of it, still burned against his skin. And as much as Jason wanted to pull away, to retreat to the safety of his own ignorance, something inside him kept pulling him closer to her. She wasn't just some stranger. She had touched something deep within him, something he didn't know existed. But trust? How could he trust her? How could he trust anything in a situation where the truth seemed so elusive, so tangled in mysteries beyond his comprehension? I don't know if I can do this, Jason said, his voice hoarse, barely above a whisper. He tried to steady himself, but the shaking in his hands betrayed his growing unease. Arya's expression softened, her purple eyes looking at him with something like compassion, though it was hard to tell if that was genuine or just another part of the complex game she was playing. Her alien beauty had taken on a new dimension, one that felt almost too alien to grasp. She was a creature of another world, a being who had seen countless galaxies, and yet here she was standing before him, wanting him to play a role in some grand cosmic plan he couldn't even begin to understand. You don't have to do anything. You're not ready for, Arya said, her voice calm, almost soothing. But you can't deny what's inside you. It's there, Jason, and sooner or later, you'll have to come to terms with it, whether you like it or not. Jason felt a sharp pang of frustration. How do you expect me to come to terms with something I don't even understand? How do you expect me to accept something that feels like it's controlling me? Arya stepped closer, but this time there was no intensity in her gaze, no overwhelming force. Instead, there was a quiet understanding, like she had seen this reaction 1,000 times before. I don't expect you to understand it all at once. I don't even expect you to trust me yet. But I do expect you to acknowledge the truth of what's happening. You are part of something much bigger than yourself, Jason. And you have a choice to make. Jason recoiled slightly, the weight of her words settling heavily in his chest. A choice. Was that all it was? A decision to make, a simple choice in the face of everything that had been thrown at him? It felt so much bigger than that. It felt like the kind of choice that could change everything. His life, his future, the fate of humanity itself. I don't know if I'm ready for this, he said, his voice breaking. I don't know if I can handle this responsibility, whatever it is. I'm just a guy who ended up on the wrong planet. I don't want to be the key to something. I didn't sign up for this. Arya's eyes softened and she reached out, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. Her touch, despite its coolness, felt surprisingly warm, like a calming presence in the midst of his inner storm. You didn't choose this, Jason, but you're here now, and you have to make a decision. Will you embrace the power within you, or will you run from it? Jason's eyes flickered with doubt. He could feel the pull of her words, the undeniable truth that he couldn't ignore. He couldn't deny the strange energy that had coursed through him when she had touched him. He had felt it, the power, the connection. It was like a river that was just waiting to be tapped, to be understood. But the thought of unlocking it, of allowing it to take control, terrified him. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about what this power could do to everything around him. Embrace it? Jason repeated, his voice rising with frustration. What if I don't want it? What if I don't want to be part of your cosmic plans? I don't even know if I can trust you, Arya. How do I know you're not just using me for something else? For the first time, Arya's expression flickered with something that resembled guilt, but it was quickly replaced by determination. I'm not using you, Jason. I'm asking you to trust me. And I know that's difficult. I know I haven't earned it yet. But this power, it's not just about you and me. It's about the balance of everything. Everything you know. Everything you've ever cared about, it's all tied into this. Jason stepped back, trying to process her words. The weight of her voice pressed down on him like a physical force. The weight of her presence was undeniable, and the longer he stood there, the more he felt like he was drowning in it. I don't know if I can trust that, he whispered, his chest tight with fear. Arya let out a small sigh, stepping back as well. You don't have to decide everything right now, but at some point, you will have to choose, Jason. You can't hide from this. You can't run from the truth forever. Jason ran a hand through his hair, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. On one hand, he wanted to reject everything Arya was saying. He wanted to turn his back on the entire situation and walk away, go back to his simple, normal life. But on the other hand, there was a nagging feeling deep inside him, one that couldn't be ignored. What if she was right? What if there was something within him that was far more important than he could ever comprehend? I don't know what to do, he admitted, his voice quiet now, filled with defeat. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I ever will be. Arya stepped forward again, her eyes now soft with understanding. And that's okay, Jason. You don't have to have all the answers right now. But the decision is yours. You have the power to choose, and that's something you should never take lightly. Jason stood there, his mind a storm of confusion and fear. He had never felt so lost, so unsure of his own place in the universe. Everything was changing. Nothing made sense anymore, but one thing was certain: he couldn't turn back. Not now. Jason stood at the edge of the alien landscape, staring out into the vast expanse of Alara 5's darkening horizon. The wind carried the strange scent of the planet's flora, mingling with the scent of dust. His heart still raced from the conversation with Arya. The weight of the choice that lay ahead of him pressed on his chest like a vice, and for the first time since arriving, he felt completely and utterly lost. He had never imagined that a simple expedition to an alien world would turn into something so complicated. Arya's words had unraveled his world piece by piece. The power within him, the one she was so desperate to understand, it was real. It wasn't some figment of his imagination or a hallucination brought on by stress. It was something buried deep inside him, waiting to be unlocked. But why him? Why had this power chosen him? And more importantly, why couldn't he just walk away from it all? The more Jason thought about it, the more his mind twisted in knots. Every word Arya had said played on a loop in his mind. You're the key. You're the key to something bigger than you can understand. Jason clenched his fists, frustration building inside him. He had never asked for this. He didn't want to be the key to some ancient power. He didn't want to be the one responsible for unlocking the fate of humanity, let alone the future of an alien race he barely understood. He just wanted to survive, to live a life that made sense. Jason. Arya's voice broke through his thoughts, soft but filled with an unshakable determination. He turned to face her, finding her standing a few feet away, her posture steady and confident. But there was a shift in her demeanor, something different in her eyes. She had come closer, But, this time, there was no intensity in her presence. It wasn't as suffocating. There was just clarity. "What is it?" Jason asked, his voice heavy with exhaustion. His mind was still reeling from their previous conversation, and it felt like he was on the edge of a precipice, unsure of whether to jump or to turn back. Arya's lips parted slightly, and for a moment she hesitated, as though she were grappling with something far more important than Jason could comprehend. She was holding back. He could feel it. The silence stretched between them, an uncomfortable pause that left Jason feeling like he was standing in the dark, waiting for the light to finally come on. "You don't understand yet," Arya said softly, taking a step closer. "But I need you to know the truth. The truth about why you're here. The truth about who you really are." Jason swallowed hard. Who he really was. He had no idea what that even meant. Was this about his human nature, or was it about something much more alien? His hands were clammy as he ran them over his face, feeling the weight of everything pressing on him. "All right," Jason said, his voice a mix of exhaustion and frustration. "If I'm so important, then tell me. Why am I here, Arya? Why did you bring me to this planet? Why does any of this matter?" Arya paused, her gaze locked onto his. For a moment, she seemed to search for the right words, as though what she was about to say was the most difficult truth she had ever spoken. "Because," she began, her voice steady but filled with an underlying sorrow. "You're not just human, Jason. You're a hybrid. A result of a long-forgotten union between two races, one that happened long before you were born. And that power inside you, it's the result of that union." Jason felt his breath catch in his throat. A hybrid? What was she talking about? His mind scrambled to make sense of what she had just said. Was she suggesting that he wasn't purely human? That his ancestry somehow connected to something more alien? No. Jason shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible. My parents. I was born on Earth. I've never heard anything about this. I'm just human." Arya took a step toward him, her voice low and calm. "Your human ancestors were once visited by my kind, by an ancient alien race long lost to time. They gave humanity a gift, an energy, a power that could transform the future of your species. It was meant to remain dormant, hidden within your bloodline. But it's waking up now, Jason, and it's inside you." Jason's mind was spinning, trying to grasp the magnitude of her words. A hybrid? An ancient gift from an alien race? It sounded like something out of a science fiction novel, not something he could be a part of. His family had always been normal, average people. His mother had never said anything about an alien connection. "This doesn't make sense," Jason whispered, shaking his head. "If this power is inside me, why haven't I felt it before? Why didn't I know about it?" Arya's expression softened, as if she understood the confusion that was tearing through him. "You haven't felt it because it's been dormant. It's only now that it's beginning to awaken. The connection between your human and alien ancestry was sealed, hidden away to protect humanity. But now, with the rise of new threats and the imbalance in the galaxy, it's waking up. And you're the key to unlocking its full potential." Jason felt a cold shiver run through him. His entire life had just been turned upside down. He wasn't just a regular human. He wasn't just some guy from Earth. He was a product of something much older, something far greater than he could understand. But what did that mean for him? What was he supposed to do with this knowledge? "But why me?" Jason asked, the question bursting out before he could stop it. "Why me? Why not someone else? Why am I the one who gets to carry this burden?" Arya's eyes softened with a sorrowful understanding. "Because, Jason, you are the one who was meant to carry it. You're the one who can make the choice. You have the power to either awaken this energy fully or allow it to remain dormant. And once that choice is made, the fate of your world, and many others, will be determined." The gravity of her words hit Jason like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about the future of entire worlds. The pressure was unimaginable, suffocating. You're not just a man, Jason. You're a bridge between two worlds, between humanity and the alien race that once helped shape it. The power inside you is the key to the future, but it's also a weapon, and how you wield it will determine everything. Jason stood there in stunned silence, the weight of her revelation settling over him like a heavy cloak. He didn't know what to say, what to feel. All he knew was that his life had just been irrevocably changed, and there was no turning back. Now the question remained, what was he going to do with all this power? And more importantly, could he handle the responsibility that came with it?